President Lai unveils his new security plan, but some oppose more than its price tag. The government responds to a controversial bridge project to connect Kinmen to China. How can Taiwan lower its tariff rates from the US? Some Trump administration demands are revealed. Plus, scores are confirmed dead and hundreds still missing after a fire ravaged Hong Kong. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Laurel Stewart. The Cabinet has just approved President Lai Ching-te's new security plan that includes a record-high special defense budget. But as Alan Liu reports, reactions to the proposal have been mixed.
A $40 billion special defense budget, the largest Taiwan has ever proposed. President Lai Ching-te on Wednesday unveiled a new multi-year defense plan, running from 2026 to 2033. He says the budget will fund stronger air defense systems, investments in asymmetric warfare, and the creation of a China-free defense supply chain. The U.S. has welcomed the move. The de facto American embassy in Taiwan, several senators, and the House Foreign Affairs Committee all praised it, and Taiwan's foreign ministry expressed its thanks.
台美将持续在台湾关系法与6项保证的稳固基础下紧密合作，共同捍卫台海与印太区域的和平、稳定与繁荣。
But not everyone supports the plan. The main opposition Kuomintang, or KMT, says the proposal means taking on huge debt and that it could risk provoking China.
我们如何能够永续的，如何能够维持世代正义，来支持如此庞大的国防特别支出？这一点，赖总统没有给我们任何的说明。赖总统，您在玩火啊！
The proposal came a day after Lai published an op-ed in the Washington Post outlining his defense vision. Both the KMT and the opposition Taiwan People's Party criticized the move, saying he went straight to the international media before communicating the plan to the public at home.
不管是国人还是立法委员，大家都没有办法得知具体的内容。没有想到赖清德总统竟然是透过投出美国媒体的方式来宣布，我们的国防经费要再进一步增加400亿美金。
But some analysts say sharing the budget with international media is a way for Taiwan to show allies abroad it's willing to defend itself.
川普差不多当选快一年了，那这一年多了，这一年的中间，他其实对台湾有很多的一些想法，或者是说他对国防预算有很多的一些希望要提高。那我们在这个时候，代表我们这个时候提出这一份投书，其实代表我们对于 美国的一些建议，我们是有去采纳。
And while the cabinet approved the budget on Thursday, China is continuing its gray zone pressure. Beijing's Taiwan Affairs Office, which handles cross-strait matters, responded to the budget plan, warning it could push Taiwan into a disastrous situation. Meanwhile, Taiwan's defense ministry reported spotting 17 Chinese military aircraft and 6 vessels operating near the country between Wednesday and Thursday morning. Despite some opposition to the budget, analysts say that strengthening Taiwan's defenses has become a rare point of consensus amid ongoing pressure from China. Fu Hahong and Alan Liu for TaiwanPlus.
After months of delays, Taiwan's first domestically built prototype submarine has begun its 4th sea trial.
很多的装备，所以在电力系统的部分的需求当然就增加了，所以在这部分的整合可能当初预估的时间并不是很充足，那现在看起来应该都已经整合到一定的程度。
The Navy originally hoped that the Kaohsiung-based China Shipbuilding Corps would deliver the sub in November, but the first 3 sea trials this year revealed issues with the vessel. Last month, the Defense Ministry said the delays would lead to daily fines for the shipbuilder. Officials say the Haikun will undergo 1 more surface test before entering its underwater trial phase. A New Zealand Navy ship has passed through the Taiwan Strait for the 2nd time in just over a year. Citing New Zealand's defence ministry, Reuters reports that the country's largest military vessel sailed north past Taiwan in November. The ship, the Aotearoa, was reportedly followed by Chinese ships as it travelled up from the South China Sea. China views Taiwan as its territory and considers the strait to fall under its jurisdiction. New Zealand defence officials stressed that the transit complied with international law. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that US President Donald Trump advised Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae to tone down her support for Taiwan, after recently saying Japan could intervene if China invades Taiwan. To understand what a possible change of tack on Taiwan would mean, John Van Trieste spoke to Professor Tsai Hsi-hsun, a Japan expert at Tamkang University.
So Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae has softened her rhetoric on Taiwan somewhat, saying she didn't mean to get specific, but she hasn't retracted her original statement. What significance do you see in that?
他现在只是包装，不希望说把这个事情应该说闹得越来越大，也希望说中方有一个台阶可以降下来，把希望双方的一个温度降价。那只是说他没有去收回的原因是，他们本来的态度、本来的见解就是这么样的一个见解。因为这句话不是新的，而且他们也是强调72年的共识，他们没有承认台湾是中华人民共和国的。 这也是告诉中方，我们的态度本来就是这样，只是高是把它讲明白而已。
So she might be softening her rhetoric around Taiwan, but she's not retracting her statement. Is that going to be enough to mollify Beijing, or do you see tensions between China and Japan continuing to be high?
应该说不是升高或是降温的问题，而是日方已经正式这是面临，或是说他们正视这一个问题点，没有在躲避的，因为。 日方的话确实是本来就感受到中方的那一种威胁感，所以只是趁这个机会让国民能够醒悟起来，而不是像过去一样，日方有一点是睁一只眼闭一只眼，就是中方的军力的扩大，他们好像就没有看到，他们也认为说，反正只要是有美军基地在日本的话，他们应该是没有问题的。可是现在的话，就是自己去面对。
What can Taiwan do to maximize its self-interest and make the best of the situation in this triangle of global powers and the frictions between them?
我们要展现出防卫自己的一个能力，这样才能够抑制战事的发生。因为台湾跟日方的力量，如果说拉升起来的话，那个战事的风险应该是会往下降。虽然不能够共同军演，但是你们做什么，我们做什么，平常可以沟通站好自己的位置，防卫这一个阵营。
That was Tamkang University's Tsai Hsi-hsun. Taiwan says it has no plans for a bridge between its outlying Kinmen Islands and the Chinese city of Xiamen. That's after China said a group of people from Kinmen visited the part of the bridge it's working on. Our reporter Cadence Coranta has been following this story and joins us live from Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which has just addressed the issue. Cadence, what are the two sides saying about the visit?
So China says this is the first time that residents from Kinmen have visited the construction site of the Xiamen side of the bridge, which China has been building since 2023. And China says that this group supports the bridge and hopes that it will open as soon as possible. It's worth noting that Kinmen's legislator Chen Yuzhen also confirmed this to TaiwanPlus. So why is this significant? It requires a little bit of background. Kinmen's just a few kilometers away from Xiamen on China's southeast coast. So it's a Taiwanese island, but it's actually much closer to China. And there are already ferries running between the two sides pretty frequently, but now China wants to connect them with a physical bridge, so one step further. But this plan has always been very controversial in Taiwan. It's actually part of Beijing's efforts to integrate China and Taiwan with the ultimate goal of bringing Taiwan under its control. So it's very connected to this goal. And Taiwan's government has called the bridge a national security risk and has said that it does not agree to it. Despite that, with bringing this group over to Xiamen, China seems to be emphasizing that they do have local support for the bridge, as it urges the Taiwanese government also to support it.
So, Cadence, other than this group that visited, is there more general support in Kinmen for the bridge?
So some do support it, actually. They see it as an easier way to get to Xiamen, where a lot of Kinmen residents go very frequently. A lot of people own property there or have family there or do business there. And they see it as an easier way than the ferry to get to Xiamen. They also say that it could maybe bring more economic opportunities to Kinmen. But then there are others who fear it might endanger Kinmen's political freedoms and might bring unwanted investment. So a range of opinions. But regardless of what people on Kinmen think, it seems clear that Taiwan's government is standing firm in its opposition to building this bridge. This is what Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which handles relations with China, said today at their press conference about this.
两岸情势现在复杂敏感那为确保国家安全和利益，目前政府并没有推动任何两岸间通桥的政策和规划。
So this apparent show of support by Kinmen residents appears to have put this bridge into the spotlight once again, but it doesn't look like Taiwan's government is going to budge on approving this bridge anytime soon.
Thanks, Cadence. That was Cadence Caranta, live from Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council office. The White House may be testing a new formula in trade talks with Taiwan: lower tariffs in exchange for help training US workers and building a domestic chip ecosystem. That's according to exclusive reporting from Reuters. As our reporter Chris Gorin explains, the plan leaves as many questions as answers.
US President Donald Trump has a new demand for Taiwan if it wants lower tariffs: train American chip workers. That's according to 5 sources cited in an exclusive Reuters report. And it comes as Taiwan negotiates with Washington on a trade deal that would lower its tariff rate, currently at 20%. Washington's demands include sending more workers from Taiwan's chip industry to the U.S. to expand operations there and train American workers. The U.S. is also asking for support and know-how to help build industrial clusters similar to Taiwan's science parks. It's asking for more capital investment in the U.S., but the total investment the U.S. is asking for is reportedly less than it's asking from regional rivals like South Korea and Japan. Now, neither the White House nor Taiwan's Office of Trade Negotiations has responded to our requests for comment. It's unclear what kind of training Washington wants beyond what companies like TSMC are already doing at their Arizona facilities, or exactly what kind of know-how it's seeking on industrial clusters. Also unclear is the timeline, as many factors are in play. One of those factors is China, a country Trump has been seeking a big trade deal with. Will Taiwan be part of those negotiations? Furthermore, the presidential authority Trump has used to levy tariffs is before the Supreme Court and could be overturned with a decision expected before June. So while the report does shed some light on what the U.S. wants in a Taiwan trade deal, it raises as many questions as it answers. Chris Ma and Chris Gorin in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
US chipmaker Intel is rejecting accusations by Taiwan's TSMC that one of its executives, Lo Wei-ren, leaked trade secrets after rejoining Intel in October. In a statement, Intel said it strictly prohibits the use or transfer of intellectual property. The company says it has no reason to believe there is any merit to the allegations against Lo. The dispute pits 2 of the world's biggest chip makers against each other in a high-profile fight over trade secrets. Lo spent about 18 years at Intel before joining TSMC in 2004. TSMC says that after Lo moved away from R&D last year, he was still involved in briefings from research staff, creating what the company now calls a high risk of leaking trade secrets to Intel. The allegations are detailed in a lawsuit TSMC filed this week in Taiwan. The Economy Ministry and prosecutors are also investigating possible national security breaches. Coming up after the break, conservation or cultural annihilation. Thai hunter-gatherers are threatened by laws meant to protect their lands.
The CPBL season may have ended, but in Taiwan, baseball never sleeps. The countdown to the 2026 World Baseball Classic has already begun.
希望说在年底我们可以选出一个就 是团队默契跟实力坚强的一个球队，然后尽力的去打好我们的比赛这样子。
The season never ends when it's game on Taiwan. Stay tuned. The next battle begins now.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. 3 people have been arrested after a deadly fire broke out in a high-rise apartment complex in Hong Kong on Wednesday. Over 50 people are dead, including 1 firefighter. Tiffany Wong has the latest.
As morning breaks in Hong Kong, firefighters continue to fight the remaining blaze at this high-rise apartment complex in the city's Taipei district. The fire, which broke out on Wednesday afternoon, has killed dozens of people, including 1 firefighter. Hundreds are still missing. The 8-tower complex was home to over 4,000 people, many of them aged 65 and above. The fire raged all night as residents watched on, anxiously waiting for news of their loved ones.
One neighbor said he still could not find his wife. I know someone who has young children and elderly in their family. I called him and he said he was still trapped inside the building.
The cause of the fire is unknown, but police say the blaze's quick spread could be because of flammable materials used in maintenance work. 2 directors of the construction company and a consultant have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter.
We have reason to believe that the company's responsible parties were grossly negligent, which led to this accident and caused the fire to spread uncontrollably, resulting in major casualties.
The 32-story towers were covered in bamboo scaffolding for government-mandated maintenance. Flammable foam construction materials were also found on the outside of every floor. One former district councillor who lives in the apartment complex for 30 years said having all the towers under construction at once was irregular.
So in our experience, we will do one by one and to save more money, because when you do it all together, then you need many workers at the same time. And also it will affect all the people of all the buildings. So actually we will do it one by one and try to do it part by part.
With hundreds of residents still missing, Hong Kong leader John Lee said that over 800 emergency personnel had been dispatched to the scene. In a post on social media, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te sent his condolences to Hong Kong and a wish for the missing residents to be found safe. On Wednesday night, Chinese leader Xi Jinping urged an all-out rescue effort, setting aside $282,000 for Red Cross assistance. And major Chinese businesses like Xiamen and Tencent have donated over $6 million for relief efforts. Some 900 people have been evacuated to temporary shelters, and many more may be left homeless due to the densely populated city's housing shortage. With hospitals treating dozens in critical or serious condition, the death toll is expected to rise, with many still wondering who is to blame for the city's deadliest fire in decades. Joseph Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
A Taiwanese man has been located after his reported abduction several days ago by armed men at the Abu Dhabi airport. The passenger, Mr. Chen, was transiting at the airport with his wife, Ms. Yang. The couple were en route to Turkey for a tour when Yang said 5 armed police officers arrested him and took him away. Yang reached out to Taiwan's foreign ministry, which then worked with police in Abu Dhabi. Taiwanese media report Yang saying her husband is currently being held at a Dubai police station, and details of his detainment are still unknown. 9 Indigenous people have been acquitted of charges of hunting protected wildlife, the first ruling since Indigenous hunting was decriminalized in February. The group was arrested in southern Taiwan in 2022 and charged under the Wildlife Conservation Act. Investigators said they had killed 4 Formosan Black Bears and 3 wild goats over a 3-year period. The judge dismissed the case, saying the animals were not hunted for profit and that one of the bears was shot because it posed a threat to human life. Balancing Indigenous hunting traditions with national law has long been a challenge in Taiwan. Despite the acquittals, the county government still has the option to issue fines. Indigenous hunting was decriminalized in Taiwan following a landmark 2015 case involving Bunun hunter Tamatalum. The case continues to shape the debate over Indigenous hunting rights and animal protection today. For more on this, let's take a look at this excerpt from our news program, Finding Formosa.
Since the Tama case, the Ministry of Agriculture has begun a limited trial of this decentralization concept with the establishment of hunter associations across various tribes. Even in its limited format, this has given both the tribes greater control over their hunting activities and the Forestry Agency better data to inform future policy.
关于猎人协会的角色啊，其实它是在所谓林保署的这个狩猎自主管理的这个框架底下啦。那它本来的概念就是说，共生的去也协助林保署去管理整个山林的生态。
那猎人组织的猎人都会回报说，我打到什么动物。那这样的话，他们就可以比较说，我是不是有些地方动物打得太多了？这个时候他们就会启动自己的狩猎的禁猎的一个制度出来。那我们曾经看到有的部落因为飞鼠好打，所以他们觉得飞鼠好像跟前几年比较起来已经有下降了。猎人组织里面就发出一个公告说，我们停止狩猎飞鼠1年。那明显的飞鼠的族群就恢复起来了。
猎人协会算是一个原住民跟政府和解的一个很大的象征，因为林保署在这几年，他回过头来认为说应该要跟原住民合作。
那我觉得一开始他们其实说老实话，他们是被污名化，因为台湾有很多人认为台湾野生动物的族群减少是因为原住民狩猎的一个情形。可是我事实上从那个资料的呈现，或者我自己本身在野外做调查，原住民的狩猎呢，其实上对动物的族群的伤害性其实是非常少，他们过去以来都是一直被压迫的。
You can catch that full episode of Finding Formosa soon on our YouTube channel, Taiwan Explained by TaiwanPlus. Thailand's Manik people are demanding the right to harvest the forests they've long lived in. Their struggle reflects the challenges faced by many indigenous groups in the region. Zalan Shatta reports.
In the forests of Thailand, an indigenous Manik hunter stalks a monkey. As a member of one of the country's last hunter-gatherer groups, he's carrying on a centuries-old tradition, one that faces an uncertain future. Like many indigenous communities around the world, the Manik face change. The Thai government made their forests a conservation zone, and laws now limit private land ownership and make hunting illegal. As Thailand develops, the Manik people must increasingly choose between their traditional nomadic lifestyle and a modern one with access to education and healthcare.
Having a house is important because a structure like this breaks down easily, so we can't live in it for long. I want a house or a hut that I could occupy for a long time.
For centuries, the Manik have roamed the Malay Peninsula, moving with the seasons and searching for food. Today, most of their community has moved to the edges of forests, closer to mainstream Thai society.
For the Manik people, we've entered a transitional stage. We're transitioning from the traditional Manik who live off the forest to now we're not like that. We're living a new way of life. We send our kids to school and expenses follow. So we want land where we can make a living out of it.
Manik hunting has transitioned from a main food source to an important cultural practice. And while studies suggest it is sustainable and helps biodiversity, it's now barred by environmental protection laws.
It's not just the Manik people. Everybody needs to abide by the law equally. Everyone needs to adhere to the 2019 Wildlife Conservation and Protection Act within the wildlife conservation area, which doesn't permit collecting forest resources, hunting, or encroaching an area where one doesn't have an ownership of.
There are loopholes. Indigenous communities in Thailand can receive 20-year permits to use and harvest the land they live on. While some argue this makes them temporary residents on their own land, others see it as a reasonable compromise.
They may not get ownership of a land, but they will get rights to utilize the land, which will also apply to their descendants. They can use it according to their traditional way of life, and at the same time, they'll help preserve the land. This way, they can live inside the conservation area. This is the way out. Giving them ownership of a plot of land is not the solution.
The debate over the rights of small indigenous groups to harvest their land is part of a much larger debate over indigenous rights happening in the region. In Indonesia, mining is polluting the Hangana Manyawas rivers. And in Taiwan, widely popular laws on gun ownership, conservation, and animal rights conflict with laws protecting traditional indigenous ways of life. And while the issue is a global one, for those it affects, it's deeply personal.
I want to continue living in the forest, but I've already come down to study and I have to move forward. I want my mom to be happy. I want her to have income.
As Duan and others in her community transition to a different way of life, they join indigenous groups all over the world, navigating changes brought on by a distant central government, even as they navigate the land they once called home. Howard Tang and Zalan Shata for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, let's end with the lighting of this Christmas tree, marking the start of the holiday season in France. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care. See you next time.